All righty, welcome back to the Rundown with Caleb and Casey. Wow, Casey Schiesler, is this the longest hiatus we've had in the history of the podcast? It's got to be dang close.
There has to be search warrants out for us by now. I mean, 1 month without the rundown in the off season, these people are going crazy, Caleb.
Yeah, has the world still been operating in our stead? Is everything still okay? I know Jake Euling texted us last week with one of those like sad gifs.
Yep.
No context, but we knew exactly what he was talking about. Oh, we've had fans at our doorstep just clamoring for more content.
There's mail all throughout the apartment up here, just fans asking if we're okay, really do appreciate it.
The world doesn't exactly move the same when Caleb and Casey aren't hosting the rundown on a weekly basis. And I'm truly sorry. I'm truly sorry for that. Hopefully things can kind of get back in order now that we're here. But man, Casey, how's it going, sir?
Oh, it is fantastic. We are back. Some crazy news around the sports world. I mean, it's been a while, but we kicked this off right in time. We had it planned out to podcast today. And, there's just a little reminder for us on why the rundown should stick around.
I think EA made this strategic announcement today because they knew the rundown was coming back for its first episode in a month.
Yeah.
And that's a phenomenal segue, Casey, into our first conversation because, about 12 hours ago, one of the better sports announcements that I can remember in a long, long time, EA is going to be coming out with a college basketball video game in 2028. And that broke Twitter this morning. That Casey and I were jumping through the ceiling. This is great news. This is great news. Last summer, we of course had the revival of EA College Football, which 26 comes out next week, right?
Yeah.
Yep. And then that'll be followed by college basketball coming out in 2028. Huge news. Casey, what are your thoughts on it?
Oh, it's just a miracle. Like you said, this is probably the second biggest gaming news, at least for us and like the kind of communities that we're in. The first one, obviously, college football coming back because that led to the segue of now college basketball. But I mean, you think about how involved we are in basketball and especially college basketball. We love college football, don't get us wrong, but we are true sickos when it comes to college basketball, knowing rosters, knowing teams, coaches, heck, even refs and play-by-play announcers. So this for us, this is our Christmas. That game is going to be like a year-long Christmas for us.
Yeah, and you and I were commenting a little bit before going on the air. I mean, already talking about like who the main play-by-play guy is going to be, right? What is the ranking going to be for, best stadium atmospheres? Obviously Allen Fieldhouse is going to be right up there at the top. Hilton Coliseum, probably not too far behind. It's already getting so much chatter online, which is so good. That's the best part about it. And, kind of sucks that we have to wait 3 years, but that's how it goes. I mean, we had to wait that long because they made the college football announcement, that was shortly after the whole NIL deal started. And then obviously came out last summer. So it's reasonable, but we're going to have, 3 years here or so of chatter and build up to it. And when that thing comes out, it is going to be, it's going to be awesome. But yeah, that was an absolute bombshell today. I know you said you had heard some chatter a little bit. I honestly, I really was not expecting to see that when I saw it when I woke up this morning, but here we are, man.
Yeah, it's crazy. 3 years because it's going to be men's and women's. So it is going to be a full game. You think that's like 700 teams they're putting in the game, starting from the ground up with how they're going to have to build the entire game just like football does. They might share some stuff with 2K. They might have a deal. Who knows fully because 2K tweeted out something.
Yeah, they had that cryptic tweet earlier.
Yeah.
Somebody. That was interesting.
I don't know if that's just like 2K is going to be allowed to do more college stuff too. When you think of my career and my player in NBA 2K, if they're going to have like a more in-depth college, or, if you're going to be able to go to Fairleigh Dickinson, if you're going to be able to go to Iowa State instead of just like the 6 or 8 pre-listed colleges.
Sure. Quick question for you here. Quick trivia question. Do you know who was on the cover of the last EA NCAA basketball game?
Blake Griffin.
Yes, sir.
I actually have an NCAA game. I was playing it this morning. I was playing NCAA 05. Can you take a guess on who was the cover of that game?
Man, NCAA 05?
Mm-hmm.
Was it Kevin Durant?
No.
Okay. Let me take one more guess.
It's a blue blood program.
Blue blood. Okay. Could it have been somebody from Kansas?
It's not Kansas, unfortunately.
Okay. Thinking. Tell me, who was it?
Emeka Okafor of UConn.
Oh, yeah. I would not have guessed that. I would not have guessed that at all. Wow. 05. What were you playing that on?
The PS2. I brought the PS last time I went down to Omaha. Brought it up with me.
Blew the dust off of that thing, huh?
Yeah, and even some college baseball video games on there too. It is just
reminds me of when we were grinding the college football 14 game in our dorm freshman year at Iowa State. Just counting down the days to the release of college football 25. We played that game religiously.
Yeah, and next week we'll be able to play a rundown dynasty against each other: Kansas, Iowa State, Army, Navy, whatever we want to do. It's gonna be
crossplay for college football 26. Great point. Let's kind of move into that then, because obviously that's coming out this next week. I have not been in the weeds as much with this as I was for the game last year. I think just because there was so much hype with last year being the first one. But what kind of give me and the audience the skinny on what to expect different in this game versus last one?
An overhaul of Dynasty, kind of. They want to make it as immersive as possible. So crossplay is coming in. Transfer portal's a bigger thing. So you're going to see, instead of like a couple hundred guys go to the portal, as much as 2,000 to 3,000 guys in the portal. So a more realistic, difficult to keep players, more players to bring in, kind of changing and how players, what they want. Some of your lower rated players, when you bring them in, they're fine with like a mediocre coaching staff. And then if they're all American, all conference, they're really more likely to jump ship, like you see in real life, to go play for Ohio State, to go play for Oregon, Alabama. You're going to see a lot more of those coming in, but a lot of gameplay focused stuff, a lot of more realism and Dynasty was the two main key things I've taken away from it. A lot of the YouTubers and like media people surrounding it are like, this is a lot more of a true college football dynasty, and that's their focus because that's where most of their player base is. Unlike the Maddens and the 2Ks, what's all online stuff, they go to the more offline and the more dynasty and season focused stuff, which is great for us.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I mean, the fact that coaches are in it is great. That was definitely a big missing piece in the last one. You're coaching up guys like Rocco Becht and Jalen Noel and Jaden Higgins, but your generated coach name is, Brad Smith. And it's not quite the same. That'll be great to have that. I don't know if you mentioned Road to Glory began as a high school recruit.
Yeah, kind of.
Is that actually what it is, or is it not that?
So you are a high school recruit, but instead of like, if you remember the old games where you played like a 6-game high school season or whatever, and how you did in this one, I think you play like moments and stuff like that, or it's like a really shortened thing, and you'll play like big game opportunities instead of the full game, which it's different, it's unique. So people are kind of on the fence on what they think of that, but high school is in it to some extent.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I think it'll be great though. 25 was really, really good, for all intents and purposes. And I think we should expect, a boost in this as well. So, man, I mean, we've got this coming out this next week. We got the news dropping today about college basketball 2028. For as crazy as the world is sometimes, Casey, in today's day and age, both within college sports and outside of it, man, just give us announcements like this to keep us grounded, man. Keep guys like us happy.
Yeah, it keeps the offseason rolling along for
Sure
us.
does.
NBA just started free agency today. Some big moves already happening. I almost thought they put it on pause since we weren't back yet to report on anything, but they did go along with it. NBA draft happened as well. MLB drafts around the corner too. We're kicking back up at the right time.
Yeah, we are. We are. Yeah. Yeah, I can't believe Shams Charania from ESPN has still been doing his work without us to provide commentary on it here on the pod.
Yep.
Yeah, well, good stuff there. We obviously, we haven't been on since the NBA Finals, the College World Series. I would say those are kind of the two biggest events that we've missed. I don't know. Do you have anything really to talk about with those? I think with the finals, obviously the Halliburton deal sucked, but all things considered, that was a really fun finals.
Yeah.
That was the most I paid attention to NBA finals in a while. So I enjoyed it. Obviously the way it ended was horrible with the Achilles injury with Halliburton, and with the way the Pacers played, I think they would have won that game 7 if he played. It certainly would have come down to the wire, I think, but that definitely sucked. And then CWS, LSU wins it. Coastal, I mean, certainly very controversial with the whole throwing out of whatever their coach's name is in that last game. Would they have still won it? I don't know. But that whole deal was a major bummer that he got lost like that. But, yeah, I would say those are kind of the two biggest storylines.
Yeah, without a doubt. And you know what the crazy part about the NBA Finals is in Game 7, Tyrese played, 7 minutes, 12 minutes, something like that?
Yeah.
And I think he led the game in three-point makes at the end of it, which is crazy to think about.
Yeah, he was about to have a generational game there in Game 7.
Yeah, he was coming home with that championship no matter what. Unfortunately, there were other play-ons, but
yeah,
out, whole team did, whole city of Indiana did. That's Indiana's the state of basketball. You hear it all the time, and they really went out there and played like it against a team, OKC, that they've got the MVP, they've got a number 1 pick, they've got multiple lottery picks and multiple more coming in the future, like almost a new era dynasty coming in against Indiana, who people thought wouldn't make it out the second round.
Yeah, it was a good change of pace, and it was, a lot of people complain, no big market teams, losing eyeballs, things like that. And it certainly wasn't a very highly rated finals. Game 7 was, but at the end of the day, I mean, like, I think that's fun, to have two small market teams like that who don't make it. And the Thunder are a very fun team. Like you said, they're going to be a dynasty to come. That team is not going away anytime soon. The Pacers, I think, Halliburton being hurt all of next year is really going to put a damper on that franchise. But when he comes back, hopefully they can still keep some momentum. We'll see how they do this year. That aspect of it really sucks for Hallie because, he was quickly becoming one of the faces of the NBA, and now a lot of that momentum kind of goes away with this injury, which, is a whole other conversation just from almost like a sports culture standpoint, you know what I mean? But yeah, major bummer there. And then, CWS, I think it was a decently fun, the Arkansas LSU battle twice was awesome. Arkansas obviously chokes again. That was unbelievable.
Yeah. Poor Van Gundy, man. He just can't get it done in Omaha. Like, the Oregon's, it was all just flashbacks to Oregon State for me. And a game I got to watch live. It was just unreal. Arkansas can't get it done. Got a Omaha native of Cam Koshal on the team. Everyone thought it was their year. They got the right guys going at the right time, and fate certainly has other plans for Arkansas when it comes to the CWS.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does. It's a tortured baseball fan base there in Arkansas. Well, let's move on here. We have a couple of Cyclone football topics for today. As it is June 30th, Big 12 Media Days, I think, is in a couple weeks here.
I think so.
Did you see they're not going to do a Big 12 preseason poll this year? Did you happen to see that? What?
Are they scared of something?
I think they're scared of the fact that last year they picked Arizona State to finish last and BYU to finish first, and it effectively ended up being the exact opposite.
Yeah.
I think BYU was, or sorry,
You were second to last.
Sorry. Yes, you're right. Arizona State picked last. Utah picked first.
Yeah.
And it was essentially flipped. Now, I think Utah was second to last. Okie State was last. But Okie State was also –
Okie State up there.
Yep. So they're not going to do it this year, which honestly, like, it sucks because as a fan, that's fun to provide commentary on and talk about it. But there's just no way of knowing these days. So I think if you're going to do a preseason poll, you got to have, like, a guy like Chris Felica, who's really in on gambling and sports betting and that stuff, and guys who actually cover like the Big 12 as a whole, as opposed to like just the beat writers of teams.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Big 12 Media Day is coming up. The season is less than 2 months away at this point, which is crazy. I know. As Iowa State will kick off in Dublin, Ireland on August 23rd, I believe, is that first Saturday of the season against K-State. So it's coming, and we figured we might as well start talking about it. So wanted to kind of just, more of a broad topic, but let's kind of talk here just what we think are keys to success this season are for this Cyclone football team. Don't have to go super in depth, but now that we're less than 2 months out, we got a good feeling about, we know who's coming back, who left. Obviously where there's holes to fill from that 11-3 season, where guys will continue to develop and get better. I'm curious, Casey, what you think are some of the biggest keys to success for Iowa State this year. And maybe while we're at it, let's kind of define for each of us what we think a successful season is, kind of from a record standpoint.
Yeah, I'll dive into the keys first, and then I'll let you do it. Then we can get into records. But the key for me, and, it's where Iowa State hangs its hat all the time, it's that secondary. Brought a lot back. You do lose some stuff, but, you've got Jeremiah Cooper there. Jamison Patton's there. Jontez Williams is still there. A lot of the defense hung around Cooper Ebel, Sadowski, Bacon, right? There's still a lot of talent that's around this defense and this secondary, and I think that's where you got to hang your hat. Your veteran leadership, your talent has kind of come from that secondary, and they've been electric at times. They keep the fans in it. They keep offenses at bay with different looks. I think that's going to be one of my main keys for me is this secondary, with losing, multiple guys to the NFL, going to turn around and show up in the same caliber of way. There is some young faces, some newer faces in it, but they've got to mature very quickly and with a decent bit less experience compared to all the seniors that we saw last year.
Yeah, absolutely. I would agree with that. The secondary is where Iowa State is always in the Matt Campbell era. It's been ride or die with those guys with the three-man front. You know what I mean? You got to have guys that are able to kind of go one-on-one at times. You got to have really good safeties and coverage, guys who are able to come up and make an open field tackle as well on a guy that's going full steam, when he gets to the second level. So I like that for sure. I'm going to go – I got two of them here. And I'm trying to pull up some statistics because just from here we go. Okay. My first key for Iowa State is going to be the defensive line. Last year, Iowa State goes 11-3, goes to a Big 12 championship, wins Pop-Tarts, all this stuff. The defensive line was not good, though. It was not a good unit at all. And part of that too, because the main conversation for me here is looking at Iowa State's rushing defense last year, which was second to last in the Big 12. And that was always something they excelled at through the years with the Haycock defense. And part of the problem too last year was injuries at linebacker, right?
Yeah.
But I feel very confident in what Iowa State has at linebacker this year because so many of those young guys got so many reps last year, and they're all coming back, and you get Caleb Bacon back as well. barring injuries again, and I don't think that's going to happen again this year, I feel really good about where the Cyclones stack up at linebacker. I don't feel great, though, about defensive line right now. You know, I think it's been a couple of years now since Iowa State has really done a good job about pressuring the quarterback, and I think I'm going to pull up total sacks here as well. Let's see. Iowa State was last year. This is 2023. 2024, Iowa State, sorry, one second, was dead last in total sacks with 16. The next closest was a four-way tie with 20 sacks between Houston, BYU, Arizona, West Virginia. So, I mean, that says it right there. There hasn't been enough pressure on the quarterback. We've seen that the last couple of years. Guys can stand back there for a while, just kind of dink and dunk all over the defense. And, for as good as Iowa State secondary has been, it's hard sometimes to, be in coverage for that long when there's no pressure. So I think that's key number one. Key number two, I think this is actually, I kind of thought about this for a while, and I wasn't sure if it, to me, was really like worth mentioning, but I honestly think, Rocco Becht at quarterback does have still some substantial room for improvement. His first 2 years, he was great, right? Big 12 freshman of the year in 2023. He was just as good, if not better, last year. And gosh, I mean, he was so clutch last year too. 3 or 4 game-winning drives, game-tying drives. The dude was clutch, and he had the hot hand in those game-time moments. Where I think he needs to improve, and if he does improve in this way, I think Iowa State could very well repeat what they did last year or get very close to it, is improving his completion percentage and eliminating the pick sixes. The pick six were very, very one, it was in high amount, and two, they were at bad times last year as well. I can think about that Utah game where Iowa State's driving, they're about to go up by like 2 scores and put the game kind of out of reach, and then BYU basically ties it up with a pick six, and it's like, or sorry, Utah. I keep on interchanging those two. It was the Utah game. And yeah, it's just, crucial moments like that. So got to eliminate the pick sixes, have a higher completion percentage. And I think he will too, because I think Iowa State's probably going to use the tight ends more this year. So, shorter passing game is probably going to lead to a higher completion percentage. That's kind of where I'm at right now. D-line, Rocco, higher completion percentage, less pick sixes. I think that's a recipe for success. So with that being said, where, Casey, would you put kind of the threshold for success from a record standpoint for Iowa State this year?
As crazy as it is, I think inevitably we're going to take a step back this year. I'm not going to say last year was like a fault, but when you look at it, you played Houston, you played Baylor, Texas Tech you lost to in a rough way. Utah wasn't that great. K-State wasn't that great. Cincinnati didn't know where they were. So it wasn't a very difficult Big 12 schedule. We thought it was going to be way more difficult than it actually turned out to be. We didn't get BYU, didn't get Arizona State till the championship. There's some difficult ones, and they showed signs of struggle, but so much of the veteran leadership is gone. You think that whole wide receiver room got reworked with guys going to the draft. And by that, I mean they're going to play for the Texans now. So, But for me, I think a 7-8 win season is successful. Because you're going to drop some games and you're going to have to find your footing. It's not going to be easy. K-State's bringing a great team to Ireland. Iowa is going to be a difficult matchup. They always are. You've got BYU this year. Colorado is a mystery ball, like always. You got to go for Arizona State. TCU looks good. KU looks solid. KU and Iowa State are really in that same, you lose a lot, you gain a little, where are you at? And you got to go to Oklahoma State to end the season. It's not going to be easy. I wouldn't mind a 7-win season, 7-5 at the end of it. You're going to drop a few rough ones. You're going to win some ones you shouldn't. That's the Big 12 for me at the end of the day.
100% agree. I think people have to remember, it's easy to get spoiled when you have, an 11-win season, go to the Big 12 championship. It's easy to forget that at the end of the day, this is still Iowa State, right? And at the end of the day, there's also 15 other teams in this conference. And I would go as far as to say there's not a single school in this conference right now that I would say is just flat out bad at football. I think everybody has a chance to be at least somewhat competitive. You know what I mean? That's the beauty of the Big 12, the truck stop conference. That call us that all you want, but it's a dang fun league. And that's because everybody's competitive and you have that's why they eliminate the preseason poll, because no one actually knows who's good, who's bad. And because of that, 16 teams, the odds of, making a Big 12 championship are still going to be very, very difficult. And so I agree with you. I'm going to go, I think 7-5 to me is kind of a, okay, yeah, fine season, decent. 8-4, I'm pretty happy with that. I'm pretty satisfied with that. I'm going to fall asleep at night just fine. You give me 9-3, I'm joyful. I'm ecstatic. That's over my expectations. Anything higher than that is, an absolute victory of a season, another historic season. So I think we're kind of on the same page there. You can't be expecting Big 12 championships every year. It's just not logical.
No, you can't go from winning your first, 10-win season to turning around and expecting 10 wins consistently now, especially Big 12. You're not the biggest money team. I'm happy we don't play Texas Tech this year because Texas Tech, number one in the transfer portal. They're a top 10 recruit team. Like, they're going to be very difficult, probably the front runners for Big 12 champions, in my opinion. There's going to be a lot of teams vying for it, but, I think you hit it right on the nose that we can't just change our expectations after 1 year with how much college football revolves.
Mm-hmm.
Very well could be a 4-win team this year. Things could go off the rails, like crazy shit can happen. That's football. That's college where it is now. And, you've got to expect and prepare for the worst, but hope for the best.
Yeah. Yep. Great point. And, you mentioned could easily be 4-8. People, go back and rewatch the highlights from games last year. Iowa State, it was a game-winning drive against Iowa, against UCF, against Utah, against Miami in the Pop-Tarts Bowl, right? Those are 4 drives right there where it's like, those could all very well be flipped the opposite way, and Iowa State doesn't win those 4 games, right? The ball, it's all about the way the ball bounces, right? Like TCU in 2022 when they went to the national championship, that was a good team, but man, they had to have a lot go right in a lot of games. It was one of those, teams of destiny, and that's the beauty and the what am I trying to say? The beauty and just the disgust when it comes to sports and college football, especially, is like it's that thin of a margin so many times. And, a team can be 4-8 and a team can be 8-4 and they can be, pretty much the exact same talent level, but it's all about, what happens in those final 2 minutes and whether or not, you have the mental fortitude to actually go win a football game. So, I think a lot of it's going to be leadership too this year for this Cyclone team, right? Like, is Rocco Beck, I think he's a really, really good leader. Can he find a way to continue to be clutch in those moments where it's necessary? Because Iowa State's going to be in a lot of close games again this year, right? Cardiac clones, that's not going away. You're not going to blow out too many teams. So, I think we're on the same page here. I think it's going to be a really fun season. The schedule has a lot of intrigue, which, with that being said, what about doing the Factual Five first and then finish it off with a 3 for 3 since we're already on the conversation? Does that sound good to you?
Yeah.
Okay. So today for the Factual Five, we're doing our top 5 most interesting, intriguing games on Iowa State's schedule. And there's a lot of them. Like Casey said, this schedule is, as of now, a lot tougher than last year. Now that can change because of how crazy the Big 12 is. Last year we thought Utah was going to be by far the hardest game on the schedule. That ended up being probably one of the easier teams Iowa State played. We'll see how that changes, but right now it looks pretty tough. So a lot of interest for sure. I'll let you go first here with your number 5.
Yeah, at my number 5, I'm going to put Colorado just because you never know what Colorado's going to be. They've got a lot of talent. They got Caden Salter from Liberty to come in. They've got added some wide receivers. They've kept some O linemen around, which is a first for them. Their defense looks pretty solid. They changed up the coaches a little bit. You never know what Colorado is going to be in this Deion Sanders era. And I mean, what was it? 6 months ago, we were talking, is Deion Sanders going to be there at the end of this? And, he still is. He's hanging around, and there's still a lot of potential with this group. They've got a lot of high-end talent now and some good young guys learning under if things do go wrong. But at the end of the day, Colorado is just an unopened box every single year that it's like Christmas Day. You're taking the wrapping off. Is this a brand new bike or is this broccoli? You don't know until you open it.
Wow. That was an incredible analogy, Casey.
Thank you.
This is the first time we've podcasted in a month, and you're already back in mid-season form.
Hey, we never leave mid-season form. We're both right where we were.
That's true. There's no off-season for us, as Josh Pate likes to say, although he whispers it. Yeah. That's a good one. My number 5, I debated here between two games. I'm going to go with Oklahoma State, which is the final regular season game of the year. It's in Stillwater. This is just a really interesting one to me for a number of reasons. One, I can't remember the last time Iowa State played Oklahoma State in the final game of the year. It's usually like a K-State or a West Virginia, it seems like. So that's different. It's also, I feel like that game could be one of two things. It could be a game where, Mike Gundy has really revitalized this program and they're back in contention. Or, things are down in the dumps. Maybe he's fired by then. I don't know. Being that it's the last game of the year, too, I think there's probably still going to be a good amount riding on that for Iowa State based on what we've talked about in this show already. So I'm just really fascinated. I think the biggest thing for me is the Gundy situation. Like, I don't really know what to expect from Oklahoma State this year. I don't think they're going to be amazing, but it's also Mike Gundy, and I still don't want to count him out yet. The other game that I had right there as well was the Kansas game at home on the 20th, so the week before, the 22nd.
Yeah.
Because of the fact that your Jayhawks have won that game 3 times in a row now, and to me, that's a game where it's like, Iowa State's got to get that back now. It's time, and you're back at home this year, but I think there's going to be a lot riding on that game as well, being that it's been 3 in a row. So I had it really close, but I opted to go with the Oklahoma State game ahead of it, just with the Gundy drama.
Yeah. I have the KU game at my number 4. I had Okie State at number 6. It was right there. Same reasons. You don't know what Gundy is. They don't have Ollie Gordon to lean on. It's a different look team, but my number 4 is Kansas because to me it's 2, veteran QB-led teams with new pieces all around them. Iowa State kept their running back room intact. Kansas has got to go out and fill after Devin Neal. Both of them lose their receiver rooms. Their tight ends get some changes, some similarities all across the board. The only thing that's really stuck for these guys is the QB room. And so we don't know what the difference is going to be. It's back at home. Maybe this is just my bias playing into it, but I'm excited for this game. But I'm also I'm skeptic because, going into last year, it was like, oh, here's this senior-led Kansas team against an Iowa State team that's coming off a good year, has shown a lot of improvements, almost like, that sophomore year, but with a ton of seniors as well.
Yeah. Yeah, that Iowa State Kansas game last year was something else. That was just that. Yeah, I don't even know. I couldn't figure out how to analyze that game. Kansas just brought it that day, man. Jalen Daniels was dicing all over the field, and I forgot he's back.
He's back.
He's gonna roll the cards again, or roll the dice again, baby.
It's his first time in Jack Trice.
Is it really?
Because they got beaned last time.
Gosh, yeah, that's right. We did get beaned. How long has Jalen Daniels been around for now? He's been around a long time.
This is redshirt senior season, I believe. Okay.
He might have been there back in 2021, but maybe he wasn't playing. I don't know. Who knows?
Maybe.
Okay, good pick. My number 4 is going to be Arizona State at home. That is so far we've done, I guess the Colorado game was October. This is November 1st. and it comes the week after BYU at home. So those are back to back. And really, for me, I think this one's just kind of easy. It's the reigning Big 12 champion, the reigning playoff team from the Big 12. How good is Arizona State going to be again this year? Obviously, they bring back what's his name at quarterback?
Sam Levitt.
Yeah, they bring back Levitt. No Cam Scatterbo, which is a huge loss. He was so much
Yeah.
of that team last year, but I think they're still going to be good. We'll see what they can do without him, but Kenny Dillingham, that team back in Jack Trice, that's going to be a game where Iowa State wants that back big time, right? After that performance in Dallas. It's going to be a rocking atmosphere. Hopefully Iowa State really has a lot on the line. They're still playing for at that point. So should be a really, really important game.
Yeah, that's my number 3. So we are very similar in where we're at. They've got Levitt back. It's a different running back room, but I thought I haven't looked too in depth, obviously, at transfers and stuff. I'll get more into that as we get closer to the season. We do our preseason polls and our conference predictions, but Dillingham, he recruited well. Like, I remember looking at their roster and being like, they lose some stuff, but look at what they've gained and look at what they hope to be, or the freshmen that they had that didn't get a whole lot of snaps in. And, now they're going to get opportunities. I think Dillingham's done a really good job to revitalize that team. Mm-hmm. He reloaded really well. He's not rebuilding. I think he's right back where it's at. They're the reigning Big 12 champs. They're going to have a target on their back. And I think being at home, especially against a good BYU team the week before, it's going to be a game that you can't sleep through. You've really got to show up to that one.
100%. Yeah, that 2-week stretch is crazy. My number 3, I do have Colorado here at number 3, just because I think it's such a toss-up.
Yeah.
That game is smack. You already talked about it a little bit at your 5, but that game is smack in the middle of October, in Boulder. It's the first time Iowa State's played Colorado since the days of the old Big 12. Didn't play them last year. I don't know. I have no idea what to expect about that one. And to me, that makes it really interesting. Like you said, is it going to be a new bike for Christmas or is it going to be broccoli? What a great, I had to use that again using you as a citation there. But yeah, I think there's so much there. I think it'll be cool for Iowa State to go out and play in Boulder for that one. I think a lot of Iowa State fans will travel there as well, so that'll be cool. But yeah, that one can go, a million different directions.
Yeah, without a doubt. We're pretty spot on in our thoughts. My number 2, it's the Iowa game, because it's a rivalry game. We're back in Jack Trice. This is a game that, when was the last time we won in Jack Trice?
I really don't want to say it here. It's 2011.
Yeah, so it's been a minute.
Yeah, it's really bad.
Yeah, and you think you got to get it sometime. With this being Rocco's junior year, you don't know if he goes to the draft or if he leaves after this year. What is going to happen in the future? So this is the one you got to get. Mm-hmm. And it's a different look Iowa team slightly. They might throw the ball. Allegedly, we're not sure. Who knows? And that's the thing. We won't know until they show up, because week 1 they're going to play some nobody and they're going to roll out the exact same offense that they've ran for the last 400 years, back when they had mammoths playing left tackle. And it's going to work for them. They're going to get by, and then their practice, they're probably going to run like 4 verts every other play in their game plan. So we don't know what Iowa's going to be. We know it's going to be intense. It's going to be very loud. Jack Trice will be rocking. So I'm excited to see it.
Yeah, they might throw a forward pass this year.
They might throw a backwards pass too. We haven't thought of that.
Yeah. Man, do they know how to spell the word pass? Probably not.
There's a P in it from punt.
Yeah, that's true. They've spelled that word a number of times. Yeah, wow. It looks like you and I are going to have the same 1 and 2 here. I also have Iowa at 2, for essentially the same reasons as you. Not having beaten Iowa at home since 2011 is not good. And not only have they not beaten Iowa at home since 2011, there have been some really, really bad performances in those games at Jack Trice since that year. Um, the one that we saw our freshman year, obviously, you got to kind of put an asterisk by it because that team was so young and they were coming off the gambling deal, and that team had not found their footing yet, right?
Yeah.
That was pre-Ohio. I mean,
Oh,
yeah, but
free
I
Ohio.
I
Crazy.
was yeah, I know. That elicits some bad memories. I was telling my dad that I think last night I was like, the first Iowa State football game I can really remember that I was locked into was that game that Iowa State beat Iowa in 2011, and they haven't won it at home since then. So it's like,
Locked back in.
yeah, that is, to me, that's the last kind of box Matt Campbell has to check off the list, before he's kind of done everything, maybe like win a Big 12 championship as well. He's been to a couple, win one, but winning that Iowa game at home, he's gotten it done at Kinnick a couple times now. You got to get it at home though. That's a big one. And then the other reason too, in this new era, anytime you get a chance, if you're the Big 12 to beat a Big 10 or SEC team, you gotta win it.
Yeah.
And that one, there's going to be big noon there. That's going to be a huge deal. We're going to go all out for that, I'm sure. So there's going to be a lot of eyes on that game. It's going to be a very viewed game. If Iowa State can win that one and win it, with a big statement, that would be huge just for the Big 12 as a whole too. So I think there's a lot riding on it from kind of a broader standpoint as well.
Yeah. And then obviously at number 1, we have Arkansas State.
Yep. I was actually going to go Cincinnati on October 4th.
Yeah. But Arkansas State has waterfalls in the back that when they score a touchdown, they shoot up, which is pretty cool.
Sounds like Coffin
and why
State.
do we have a home and home with Arkansas State?
I don't know.
Yeah.
What are we doing, gang?
It's obviously Kansas State. It is the start of the college football year. What an honor for Farmageddon in one of the best farm countries. Ireland, actually, aren't they like one of the worst farm countries? Like they had the biggest farming disaster.
Yeah, I mean, potato famine.
Yeah.
Yeah, farmers don't have a good reputation, don't have a good history over there, that's for sure. We'll go teach them.
This could be a terrible game. This could be who was it that went out and they played Virginia Tech and then just stunk it up the rest of the year?
Well, Florida State,
Florida State,
Georgia Tech last year, right?
Yes. Yeah, Georgia Tech. We could have another Florida State on our hands between one of our two teams, between us and Cole Houck, of course.
Yeah,
Cole, the state student.
Well, how about a couple of years ago when Northwestern beat Nebraska over there?
Yeah,
it was their one win of the season. So they were winless in America, but they still went 1-11 because they won a foreign game.
This Ireland game doesn't have a lot of good implications for the future, for the winner or the loser. So, this might be a bad season to get this one.
Yeah, dang. Northwestern won the game and went 1-11. Florida State lost the game and went 1-11, right? Or 2-10, maybe. Yeah.
Geez, that South Dakota game is going to be – maybe South Dakota moves higher up on my list now because of that.
Yeah. Kansas State for me too. Enough said. You already talked about all of it. The first 3 games of the year, where you've got K-State, that South Dakota game, Iowa, that South Dakota game bridging the gap, don't overlook that one either. Nobody should be overlooking that. That's a good FCS team. If Iowa State beats K-State, everyone's going to be riding high. And it's like, okay, now we got the Hawks coming to town here in a few weekends, but don't let that South Dakota team get hot because they've got some ball players in that club. And yeah, I mean, it's just, gosh, like if you could go 3-0 in those first 3, whew.
There's a sigh of relief.
I'm bouncing off the walls if that's the case.
Yeah.
But yeah. It's very exciting. This is a really, really exciting schedule. You've got Arizona coming to town for the very first time. They might be bad, but still, that's an interesting game. Like there's not a single game on this schedule where I'm just like, flyover game. Even that TCU game in Fort Worth is interesting. How good are they going to be this year? Yeah, a lot of fun to be had. Shall we wrap it up with 3 for 3?
Let's do it.
Sweet. I'll let you go first here.
As always, you got to get a fun one to start. Send me over to the NHL draft from 2 nights ago.
Of course.
Roger McQueen taken 10th overall by the Anaheim Ducks. Got to go to Disney World and take a photo with Lightning McQueen, and ultimately unveiled he will be rocking the same number as Lightning McQueen, number 95. I feel like I got to get a jersey now. That is just going to go insane.
Yeah, that's good. My number 3 is going to be Duquesne after the after the first round of the NBA draft tweeted, we're still the only school with back-to-back number 1 overall NBA draft picks. In 1995 with Dick Ricketts, and 1956 with Shugo Green. So Duquesne, everybody, known college.
That's basically Wilt Chamberlain and like LeBron James.
That's MJ and Scotty right there.
Yeah, that's obviously.
Yeah. So yep, Duquesne, known NBA farm system.
Yeah. My number 2, NAIA baseball. LSU Shreveport has the perfect season, 59-0 to win the NAIA national championship.
Dang, I didn't even see that. Some dogs down there on the NAIA level.
Deep corners of Twitter I'm in.
Yeah, that's a NAIA dynasties, baby. My number 2, Derek Queen got drafted by the Pelicans, and he posted on his LinkedIn, and I quote, "I'm happy to share that I'm starting a new position as a professional basketball player at New Orleans Pelicans. Can't wait to touch down in New Orleans and meet the fans." That's perfect.
That's awesome.
That's a perfect LinkedIn post.
Connections are forever, man.
What?
Connections are forever. Got to keep LinkedIn going.
Contracts are temporary. Connections are forever. One day, Derek Queen's not going to be playing basketball anymore, and he better hope he's got some good LinkedIn connections.
Yeah. My number 1, I mean, you knew what it was going to be. College sports video games as a whole, college basketball coming back. College football is on year 2, getting better than ever. I mean, this is something that if you talk to us in pre-COVID, 2020, 2019, we would have never thought these things were coming back, in the near future, because we didn't have the announcement of college football until December of 2021.
Right.
So you think about it, it's just absolutely insane that where we're at. And I know these games were such a big part of my childhood, and I'm sure they were for you too. And we live the sport. I mean, we like pro sports, don't get us wrong, but man, we live for college. That's why we do what we do. This stuff is just, it's a dream that we never thought would come true.
Heck yeah, baby. That's number 1 for me too. Essentially the same thing. And yeah, I mean, we thought we were going to have to, forever just, create our own teams on like Retro Bowl college and stick with that. And that was going to be the extent to which, and go back and redo old dynasties on CFB 14 and like you playing college basketball 05 today with whoever it was on the front cover.
The floor.
Yeah, exactly. So hats off to everybody involved, because that's a big development, and we're fans of it, baby.
Can't wait, man.
Yep. Gonna be good. All right. Anything else from you today before we hop off?
Caleb, I think that'll be all, but we will be back.
We will be back. You can bet we will be back, and we will have a lot more to talk about through the rest of the off season and as we inch closer and closer to Dublin, Ireland, baby. So with that, he's Casey Schiessler. I'm Caleb Polking saying so long, and we'll catch you guys next time.